々木朗希投手の各球団との交渉が始まり、メジャーでもその行く末は注目度が高いようです。もしドジャースに参加したらどうなるのか、各球団の移籍状況や交渉状況などを伝える番組がありましたので、翻訳してお届けいたします。ぜひ最後までご覧ください。
23 years old last year in professional baseball in Japan, ERA 2.02. What do you think of this guy?
Big time arm. I wouldn't say he's not the finished product. He's not what Senga is or was when he arrived with the Mets. More of a project, long, lanky body. Dustin May. The names are great, but they don't get a lot of innings and production out of that rotation through the long haul this season.
And I also wonder how many starters can you add and also think that Clayton Kershaw is definitely eventually going to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Are we just taking that for granted?
Yes.
I mean,
now he's coming back.
I know he kind of admitted that to us after the World Series parade.
He will never wear another uniform in the big leagues other than the Dodgers. And I think the second World Series cemented that in stone. If he pitches again at the big league level, injuries or no, if he comes back, it will be with the Dodgers.
Okay, his entire...
All right, the Friday before the holiday, and JP Morosi is with us for the very latest in the free agent and trade market. JP, good morning. We're hearing Josh Naylor's name kicked around as a guy that's being coveted by some offensive-starved lineups, including one in Seattle. Is this real or is this smoke?
Matt and Harold, good morning. It is not fake news, as we sometimes hear in that drop on the soundboard, Matty. This is real. There have been some conversations between the Mariners and the Guardians about Josh Naylor, who is coming off a career-best season from a power production standpoint, better than 30 homers and 100 RBI. And we think about the Mariners and how they have often struggled to produce at those key corner positions. I wonder if this could be a great fit all the way around, and you consider too the impact that Naylor would have on Julio Rodriguez. Julio had a bit of a down year in 2024. He needs to bounce back for the Mariners to make the playoffs. Probably no better way to do that than to have Josh Naylor batting behind you. And guys, this is generally speaking a pretty active part of the marketplace. Pete Alonso at first base on the free agent side is still out there. Christian Walker is still out there. Paul Goldschmidt is still out there. Carlos Santana, the ageless Santana, is still there. So for the Mariners, as much as there is a dramatic need for them at first base, they've got some good options, including this potential trade for Josh Naylor.
I can't believe you got through that discussion and the potential marriage of Naylor and the Mariners without mentioning he's a Canadian. Is he a British Columbia guy?
Yeah, he's from Vancouver.
He's from Mississauga, Ontario, just right outside of Toronto. So he is a Toronto area guy. Of course, he and his brother Bo made some history, the first brothers to play in the same playoff series since the Molinas about 2 decades ago. But yes, it could be a move west, close to the Canadian border. But yes, indeed, he's from the Toronto area.
Other side of Canada. Got it. That's,
so let me ask you this, JP. Is he messing up the first base market by being out there as a trade? And how long would a team have Naylor for?
Naylor has just 1 year left before free agency, which puts him in the same general service time class as a Ryan Mountcastle, was one more option there in a potential trade with the Baltimore Orioles. So I do think that the availability of an excellent trade option in Naylor, Harold, is slowing things up. I also believe that the general number of teams out there looking to add at first base, at least for a contract of 5 or 6 years, if that's what Pete Alonso was looking for, I'm just not sure that many teams are out there with a long-term deal for Alonso at this point in time, which I think ends up pointing towards maybe a shorter-term deal in free agency for someone like a Christian Walker. The Astros, though, are certainly open-minded, I believe, to adding a first baseman, especially given that they added Paredes over at third base. So, yes, I think the long answer to the short question, Harold, is that Naylor, Mountcastle, the trade options, I believe, are slowing up the market for Alonso and Walker.
I didn't see this coming. I did not see Naylor being available coming, because this guy's a pretty elite run producer, and a big part of why the Guardians lineup is as good as it is now.
But this leads to the discussion we had the other day. Identify your guys and lock them up.
Yeah.
They want to go long-term with him.
Yeah.
But one guy that's out there, JP, is Mr. Sasaki.
Oh, yes, Roki Sasaki saying goodbye to Japan and headed stateside. I know this won't happen until the middle of January, but who are the hot teams in pursuit?
Well, the meetings in person have begun, and there was one for the Mets, according to Andy Martino of SNY, where the Mets met with Sasaki yesterday. So this is now, I'm not sure if we're at the finalist stage yet, but they're starting to narrow down the field. And we know the Mets have had this in-person meeting. Brian Cashman said, according to our own Brian Hope, that the Yankees have a meeting scheduled with Sasaki. I am of the mind that the Padres, who have already, as my understanding, had some dialogue with Sasaki, at least remotely. There's been some dialogue there. The Padres, the Dodgers, we know that they're likely part of that finalist group whenever they arrive to that juncture. So it's not clear to me if the Padres and Dodgers have already had their in-person meetings or if that's going to wait until after the first of the year or in the coming days. But we do believe Mets, Yankees, Padres, Dodgers, all in that conversation. And remember, the key thing here, he is still considered an international amateur. So this signing bonus, because of the international signing bonus rules, is likely to be somewhere in the $3 or $4 or $5 million range, as it was for Ohtani the first time he signed when he came over and signed with the Angels.
Ooh, interesting. I know that A.J. Preller has added Japanese to his language skill set. Maybe that moves the needle.
I want him to get into Loretta Stone.
He took a Loretta Stone class, and now he knows how to speak Japanese.
Yeah, I know we're trying to move through this, but I want to ask you this, though. It was widely said that Ohtani didn't want to come east. He wanted to have a West Coast destination. Are we talking the same with Sasaki? If so, why is he meeting with the East Coast clubs? Quick
answer.
answer.
Not the case. It's not the case, Harold. He is more broadly looking around the major leagues. The one thing, though, that his agent Joel Wolf said when he spoke at the winter meetings is that perhaps a mid-sized market would be more to Rocky's comfortability. So while he's meeting with the New York teams, it is certainly not a conclusion that it's going to be a big market on either coast.
All right, lastly, Michael Lorenzen's out there as a free agent once again. We love Michael. He's a great dude. He's come on our show a lot. He's being marketed apparently as a two-way guy legitimately. Is this real, or is this just, hey, look, my guy can do both sides of the scorecard? Or do we really expect him to be used that way?
It is real, and there is a definite advantage to doing so. So credit to Ken Rosenthal. He had a great report on this recently in The Athletic about why it makes sense for Michael Lorenzen to be a two-way player. If you get a chance to be classified as that, which means at least 20 innings pitched and then at least 20 games as a position player or DH in which you have 3 plate appearances, if you get that designation, you no longer count against the 13 pitcher limit. There you see Michael in his offensive days there with the Reds. Guys, his OPS in his career is better than 700. There's a lot of everyday position players who don't have a 700 OPS right now.
I love this.
He is a great athlete, Harold, and I remember him telling me during the playoffs, we were just having a casual conversation that, I want to try to come back as a position player at some point. I didn't realize it was going to be this soon, but the idea here, guys, is that, and Ken made this point in the story, you sign as a two-way player with the White Sox or the Marlins, more of a rebuilding team, accrue your necessary plate appearances there, and then at the deadline, you're traded to a contending team, and you do not count against their 13 pitcher limit once you have achieved those milestones. This is genius by Lorenzen and his agent Ryan Hamill, and I think this idea has a lot of merit indeed.
Interesting. JP Morosi with the latest in the free agent market. Roki Sasaki, Josh Naylor. JP, thanks. Oh, where are you on the Christmas spectrum, doggy? Are you good with this holiday, or do you categorize it like you do Thanksgiving as the worst day of the year?
And this is even worse this year, Matty and Harold, because you have to remember the Netflix stupid games. The NFL put the game on at 1 o'clock, the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game. Now, who in America who's got any kind of family can watch a football game on Netflix at 1 o'clock? Why did they do it? Because they wanted to make sure people in Pakistan can watch the game live in prime time, and we get burnt. There's no night game on Christmas in the NFL. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So the games are over at 6 o'clock. Now, Matt, can you watch the football in the afternoon on Wednesday? Oh, it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
so
you're
that
right.
has me bothered. That ball has me bothered big time. Really bothered by
What
that.
are you going to do? The game ends by 6.
There's 2 games, and they're going to be over by 6 o'clock. I mean, how about Christmas dinner? And they did this just to grab of the money to make sure we can Netflix the global company so they can watch the games in Europe. Who cares? How about the American football fan, for crying out loud? Oh, my God, I'm so bothered by that.
I know.
So, in other words, Kansas City, Pittsburgh at 1, I got no chance. And I don't even think I got much of a chance at Baltimore at Houston at 4:30. So I'm going to get home at 7 o'clock at night and have to watch Wonderful Life for the 9 millionth time, which I could care less about. Oh, my God, it drives me crazy.
You know what? We'll have Little Big League on MLB Network if you want to tune that in. I mean, we'll have some options.
Starring Tony Todd.
Totally starring our boy.
Or I can watch the Ken Burns 8th inning for the 9 billionth time in the last 13 years.
That's
I can watch that too.
That's what we're advocating. Hey, let's ask you a little baseball here before we get elsewhere.
Gosh.
The offseason is hardly over. There are still a lot of big dominoes that are going to fall. But if you had to anoint a winner and a loser of the offseason so far, which teams would you put in those categories?
I tell you, I think the Yankees are a winner. I mean, the Yankees signed Fried, Bellinger, and Devin Williams for Soto, and it wasn't even nearly the money. So the Yankees, I think they've done a great job. No, they gave Fried too many years. We understand that. Williams will help that bullpen. And Bellinger at Yankee Stadium, he's versatile defensively, and he plays well in a big game. That is the Yankees Cashman did a great job. And I don't understand the Mets. Let me get this straight. They bring Soto in, and I know they're adverse to signing big pitchers because of Verlander, and obviously Scherzer didn't quite work out. The Mets are going to try to survive with the Gifford Cannings and the Frankie Montases of the world and try to strike lightning in a bottle again after they did it this past year with Severino and Quintana and Minaya. That's asking a lot. I mean, they can hit, but they're starting pitching, which came up very short against L.A. That's not a good staff. And if you're going to give Soto $800 million and give his mother a clothing expense, why not go out there and go get yourself a starting pitcher?
Timeout. His mother a closing expense? I hadn't heard that one.
I hadn't heard that either. Did that?
Yeah, Bill Madden. Did you read Bill Madden last week in the New York Daily News? That, you know, he got 22 tickets in the seats behind home plate. He got maybe some private plane stuff, and his mom, some sort of clothing expense. Really? For $805 million? If that is true, and I didn't report it, if that is true, I mean, how in the world can you get a starting pitcher, for crying out loud? They need a starting pitcher. But the original question is this. The Yankees, with the 3 acquisitions, to me, did a great job. That's your original question.
Yeah, and they're not even finished yet. That's what's exciting.
Right.
What about your Giants? Are they going to sign Burns, or what's going on out there?
Well, I think they had a good chance to sign him there, Harold, but I think the fact that Snell got 8 years, now you're going to have to go, 9 years, $270 for Burns. Boy, you're going to give a pitcher $30 million a year for 9 years. That's never going to last. But maybe they'll do it. They lost Snell. They got the Dodgers and Padres in the same division. Adames is, listen, decent signing. He doesn't hit in a big game, but decent signing. But they need another starting pitcher. And it sounds like Burns, who went to St. Mary's, who's got some Bay Area roots, that he would be the guy. But if you give him $270 million, buyer beware. That's a lot of money for a starting pitcher.
What if you go like 5 years for 50?
That's not happening.
Something like that.
That's not happening.
Well, Fried got 8 years. If Fried got 8, how do you not give Burns 9?
Yeah. Right. Yep, something commensurate to start with, and likely something north of that.
だんだん佐々木朗希投手に関する報道が現地で過熱していますね。果たして移籍先は一体どこになるのでしょうか。ドジャース有力と言われていますが、ヤンキースとの報道も出てきましたね。皆さんはどこになると思いますか。ぜひコメント欄で教えてくださいね。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さようなら。